Hello everybody, welcome to Distance Learning 101. In this episode, we're going to talk about tech tools. Now, we're not going to say use these tech tools. It's not about a specific tech tool or a set of tech tools. It's just about 4 things to consider before you start using a particular tech tool. Because sometimes you can get stuck in situations that 2 or 3 months down the line, you're all of a sudden like, oh, this isn't good at all. And a couple of quick questions and a little bit of thinking before you adopt a tech tool can save you a lot of heartache and pain down the road. The reason we wanted to mention this now too in particular is that we're seeing a lot of companies give away their stuff for a couple months during these exceptional times. And nothing but thanks and gratitude for the companies that are doing this, to reaching out and helping out. And the only thing I will say is that you do still want to think about it. And here's why. The first thing to think about as you're using a tool is to realize that, okay, at the end, it's probably not going to be free. And where does that thing, that product, that thing I'm making sit? Does it sit on the company servers and does it require their software to run it? If that's the case, in order to keep accessing this stuff 2 or 3 months down the line, you're probably going to have to pay the fees. Now, it could be possible that sometimes the product that you're making, depending upon the nature of what it is, like if it's a video, you might be able to create it using their software and get a video file out there after it. In which case, anything you've made, you're going to be able to use and own after that service is over. So that's a big distinction to make, is to find out where the product resides and what you need to access the product. Do you need that membership or that fee structure to access the product after that free time is up? Because that leads to the next question that you want to ask is, if it's not going to be free 2 or 3 months down the line, and it's something that you want to keep using, how much is it going to cost to keep using it? And do you trust that that company will still be there with that same type of price structure? So we use a lot, for example, we use Google Docs a lot, we use YouTube a lot, because we trust that those are going to give us steady prices or free, and we know they're going to be around. So we feel comfortable when we put something on a video on YouTube that it's going to be there in a couple of years, and they're not going to shake our world by suddenly charging X amount of dollars to house a video on YouTube. So there has to be some level of trust between you as a user and that product that you're using, that the circumstances aren't going to drastically change so you can't use it in the future. That's one consideration. Connected to that is the idea, it's almost in hand with that same thinking, is that your time is greater than the price of the product. The value of your time is greater than the price of the product. So it can be really tempting to see a product that's free, and suddenly if you build a curriculum around this product, and then 2 or 3 months down the line when that price changes, and you've spent 100 hours building lessons and videos and content and interactive stuff, and now all of a sudden you're looking at like a $25 to $50 monthly fee that you're going to have to pay out of your own pocket, you're kind of toast. And it's that time that you spent building up that curriculum, because you have to rethink all that, you have to go in a completely different direction, or just pony up the cost, that can make it really tricky to ask that question 2 months after you start. So before you start, ask yourself, how much time am I going to need to put into this? And is it okay? Am I willing to pay that cost on the other end should these circumstances change? The third thing to think about before you adopt a tech tool is that what's it going to be like for the user? And by this, of course, we mean the students. What's it going to be like on their end? Do they need to download and install something? Do they need to create an account? Do they need to create an account using email? What types of data does that company collect? How difficult and challenging technologically is it going to be for the students to get into that product? And then how technologically and how demanding is that product to run? And do they have devices that can run it? In particular, this could be a question, for example, if you're looking at Chromebooks, because not everything runs on a Chromebook. So you have some considerations there that you want to address in terms of, ask yourself, take a moment, say, what's that end user experience going to be like? How hard is it going to be for my students to access the stuff that I'm making or using with this tech tool? A lot of them are super easy, and that's great, but just take a moment to check it before you start in. The last thing to consider before you adopt a tech tool, in today's world and as educators, we really have to be careful about privacy. So you want to make sure as you're evaluating that user experience that you take some time to look at what the company does with its data from students it's going to collect. If it does collect data, what types of data does a student have to put in there? Where do those videos, if they've got students in them, where do they reside? Are you sure that the company has made it crystal clear that no one's going to be able to see those videos in a public sphere? Because as guardians of our nation's children during the school days, we have to make sure that we adhere and protect their privacy concerns at all times. Some of these questions you may be able to find out the answers to really easily. Others you might want to involve someone from tech support, or you might want to involve a friend who would know about that, or ask other teachers, ask administrators. But a lot of these questions can be easily overlooked, and we see teachers jump into this thing that's free and they put tons of hours into it, and then all of a sudden they realize, oh, we got a privacy concern here, and we can't, and the district says, sorry, you can't use it anymore because of this. Or it requires something to be downloaded on students' computers and only half of them can do that or have the technological capacity to do it. Or the price changes, and now you're looking at a heavy monthly fee in order to be able to continue using this thing that you just spent a few hundred hours or a couple hundred hours or 50 hours building. So there you go. Those are 4 things to consider before adopting a tech tool. And I know it's super tempting when you're excited to use one that you just want to jump in and start, but it's usually worth answering those 4 questions first so you save yourself a lot of heartache a couple months down the line.